I got my hands on some statistics just last week. Here's the statistics that came out. 178 million people are playing pickleball in Asia alone. Frequent players, not playing once a year or twice a year.
Wait, you're going to have to send me where that came from. That's a crazy number, Riff.
It is
That's
a
an
crazy
insane
number. China alone has 60 million. India leads by a significant margin. And the fastest growing one per population is Vietnam. And Malaysia is right behind them. So, I mean, if you take a look at the explosion that has taken place in just a short period of time in Asia, I could tell you there's some major big corporations that are putting in money and will continue to put in money into pickleball. Broadcasting rights are going to go through the roof throughout all of Asia. That's where the IOC makes their money.
Zane, I was just rewatching your match against Tyler.
Oh, yeah? Why would you do that?
I don't know, man. I'm weird. I'm a nerd, so...
Yeah, all right. Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself. So for those of you guys who don't know, we've got Rafa Lenhard on the podcast, and he took out Ben Johns in the first round of the PPA Orange County Cup this past weekend, followed it up with an incredible win over me, and then Noé Cleef, and fell to Christian Alshon. And, you know, I think unless you're really, really, really in the know of professional pickleball, this is the first time that a lot of people have heard about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. This is so weird, man. I listen to podcasts all day long, and I've listened to your podcast before. I have total imposter syndrome right now. I'm like, how is this happening? But
it's not that big of a deal, trust me.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know where do I start? I've been playing tennis my whole life. Grew up in Brazil, actually started when I was like 5 years old on a padel court, funny enough. And family moved here in 2007. I started playing junior tournaments. My biggest claim to fame when I was coaching after college was I used to play with guys like Taylor Fritz in the juniors. And, now he's obviously one of the best tennis players in the world, which is pretty cool to see. But then, I went to go play college tennis, had bad case of senioritis, just was kind of really tuned out of wanting to improve and wanting to really do anything else in the sport other than... At that age, I just wanted to enjoy college and go on snowboarding trips with my friends. And I quit after 2 years. Didn't do much after that. Came home from college, lived with my parents for about 2 years, and was coaching, was saving up money to buy a place out in Vegas. And towards the end of that period is when I discovered pickleball, and I was hearing guys like you. And I think you were one of the prominent names, you, J-Dub, Ben Johns. We're making a lot of money. And I was like, shit, financial freedom was kind of my passion. I was learning about real estate and budgeting and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, this sounds cool. Like, this sounds like something I want to learn more about and get into. And
yeah, so what was that, like 2022, 2023?
This was 2023, around October 2023. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's when you first, so obviously you must have played before you had heard of pickleball, or the pro scene, and heard what people were making.
So I joined a league at Bobby Riggs Tennis Club in October of 2022. It was an 8-week league, so we played on Sundays. And it was, an older crowd, generally speaking, and I was kind of out there having some fun, probably 3-5, 4-0 level, I would guess. And that was it. And then I didn't pick up a paddle until probably a year later. Once I started hearing about this, I think I went to go play at Poinsettia Park with a buddy of mine just to catch up. And he was in the know a little bit, and he started telling me about everything that you could do in pickleball. And I was like, oh shit, let's play some more and let's give it a try. So then we went 2 or 3 more times. I played in the PPA finals in November, end of November.
Yeah, that one in Dallas, the big one?
The one after that, the one that only the top 8 play in San Clemente.
Oh, yeah, at San Clemente. Gotcha. Okay.
And that was, for me, the official start. After that, I moved to Vegas and really started trying to set up practices and train. And that was that. Yeah, the rest
Vegas,
is history.
Of all places. Who you got in Vegas? You go play with Agassi or what?
Dude, I hope so. It's going to happen at some point. I'm friends with Alex Simon, who trains with him a lot, and our schedules just don't line up because I'm working in the morning, so I'm getting out in the afternoon. Shout out Andre Millett. He's a really talented player. We play a lot of cat and mouse, so that definitely helped against Ben.
Yeah, that was what I was most surprised with, to be honest, is people kind of assume, all right, if you didn't watch the match, your assumption is going to be Rafa Lenhard is really good tennis player that just bashed a bunch of balls. Like, you were playing neck and neck with Ben in the cat and mouse points,
Yeah.
right? There's not too many people who can say that by any means. So like, you are a well-rounded singles player, not just a tennis player that came over. But like, take us through that match, because like I'm assuming you haven't played, a Ben, a Fed, or one of those type of players in a competitive setting before this, have you?
No, that was the first time. And honestly, Zane, I didn't know I could do that. Some of those points, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" It was kind of one of those situations where you feel like you got a superpower, and you're just like, "What, can I cuss on here?"
Yeah, go for it, dude.
What the fuck's happening? And after I watched the match back and I'm seeing some of these points and I'm like going cross court and opening up the court, in my head, it didn't make any sense. But I'd never played those guys in a tournament setting before. I did play Colin Schick in October at the Vegas PPA, and he kind of just overpowered me. And we didn't play a lot of cat and mouse points. But yeah, that is my base for sure, is like hitting big serves and big forehands. But I have known that the cat and mouse is something I really need to improve on. And Andre is honestly really, really good at cat. Like, he's scary. The guy gets any forehand with any time. He's just hitting a winner. So whenever we're playing points, it's forced me to try to get the ball down and anticipate and learn these skills a little bit more.
For sure. Yeah, interesting. So you win game one. Ben, not taking anything away from you, Ben is known as a slow starter, right? Game two, he turns it around. He's up, 8-2, I believe, in game two. And you end up winning that one 14-12, which, like, obviously has got to feel incredible on this. Like, and, I've got to ask, there's the controversial match point, right? Like, and that's what, unfortunately, a big part of what people remember about this match is on match point, there was a backhand flick that Ben hit. You had a great get. After the point, he goes over to the referee and, starts talking about it being a double bounce. At least that's what I could gather from the live
exactly
stream.
It. Yeah. And I think he was questioning maybe the last one too. But let's work backwards. Let's get to that. So you're 100% right. Game one, I was really, really nervous because I felt like I had to hit crazy shots. You can even see in the second or third point, I missed a backhand roll, completely whiffed it, and I was like, oh shit, like, let's not embarrass ourselves out here. But he certainly, here's the thing, I've watched Ben a lot. I'm a huge fan of his game. He makes it super interesting. So I've seen a lot of his matches. I knew kind of what to expect, what shots he likes, what shots he likes to be more aggressive on. So that helped. But after I played one or two nice cat and mouse points in game one, I was like, okay, I can actually win this. That's when I first got that belief. And he certainly missed some shots that maybe he wouldn't otherwise have. Like, maybe he was a little bit tuned out, which, why wouldn't he be? I mean, he just won Atlanta, played great, and I'm just some random guy he's never heard of. So I turned it on, I won game one, and then I felt him up the intensity. I got down 2-0 in game two, and then he started to put a little bit more on his serves, get a little bit more depth, pace, and just make less errors. You could kind of, as a competitor, you kind of feel when the other person turns up the intensity a little bit. And so he gets up 9-2. I made a couple errors also. And then I think he relaxed a little bit. He missed 2 or 3 returns. I played a couple nice points, hit some nice passing shots, and all of a sudden it's 7-9, 8-9, 9-9. We play some of those highlight points.
It's anybody's game at that point, because then, like, you can't up the intensity at that point, because upping the intensity at that point just means sort of tightening up a little bit, to be honest.
Exactly.
Right?
It's that bell curve. Exactly. You got to have some, which he had like none in game one, and then he found that medium. And then 9-9, I hit it inside in forehand winner. And then it didn't register to me right away. It took me like 10 seconds. I'm like, holy shit, I am match point on Ben Johns. This is insane. And then, we played the next couple points. We go back and forth. My second match point, I go down the line forehand. He carves a volley, and I have a sort of a sitter roll push that I make all the time. And I just shank that because my hands are shaking, as I go up to my paddle's like this in my hand. And then, we get to match point at 13-12. We played this crazy point.
You were everywhere in this point. You had like 5 crazy gets in that point.
Yeah, and there's one moment also earlier in game 2 where he puts away a backhand flick, and I remember that in my head. I'm like, wow, that's a high-level shot. I don't see that often. I'm going to remember that. And that happened again in the last point, so I anticipated that. But the double bounce, like, yeah, it was obviously like a very controversial call. What I want to say about that is if there was any doubt in my head in that moment that I hadn't gotten to that ball, I would have stopped play. But like it just kept going. It was kind of one of those situations where you're like, I'm probably not going to get there, but I'm just going to fling my body and my paddle at the ball. And I did. And I look up and the ball's still in play. And I'm like, oh shit, we keep going. And so we play out the point. He gets that same backhand that he had gotten earlier on. I'm like, he's probably going to go cross here. So I take a step. I get there on the last shot, which is very similar to the first one. He misses that. And then that was it. And then he complained to the ref a little bit. He asked if he could challenge, which I wasn't sure why he couldn't. But I mean,
he wasn't allowed to on grandstand, huh? Because was that grandstand?
It was.
It was grandstand.
We had challenges in the quarterfinals. I don't know if we didn't have them or if he would have needed to stop the point.
I wonder if
right
it was
away.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what the ref said. I mean, I blacked out, honestly. Like it just,
yeah, for sure, dude. You got to celebrate your win.
Yeah.
Now, like to me, I've watched it a bunch of times. And
yeah, same.
I can't tell definitively, right? If I was a betting person, I would put it at like slightly more likely than not that it double bounced to me.
Yeah,
but you can't see it based on anything.
Yeah.
Have you watched it back? Like,
yes.
Have you taken a look at it?
Many times. I mean, it's all I saw pretty much that whole day and almost the whole week, right? When I would open up Instagram. And yeah, as I said, like in the moment, zero doubt. Ireland asked me about it after the match and I was like, didn't even think twice about it. And then it gets in your head because I've never been in these shoes. And then I start opening up Instagram and then you see like, bounce twice, didn't bounce twice, bounce twice. And even my own friends are like split between this.
Oh, dude, I saw the comments out there. The comments are ridiculous. You got, so many random people out there. Like, honestly, if you and me are watching this and can't tell, nobody else can tell. Like, there's no...
And you get people explaining like the trajectory of the ball and this. And actually, I want to say this too, because when I got that ball, I look up and that ball it was spinning backwards. It had slice.
Yeah, there wasn't topspin. I noticed that. I noticed that for sure.
And
so
to me, that's like
you
under the ball. And shout out to, or not shout out, just recall to Federer, Berdych. Were you a tennis player, Zane? Are you a tennis background?
Believe it or not, I know you played against me and you saw my game. So asking
I don't know.
If I was a tennis player is disrespectful.
That's an insult. Oh, my bad. I'm burning bridges already. It's too early for this. Anyways, Federer, Berdych, 2009 Madrid. It was like the spin of the ball like was obvious that he had gotten like against the ground and the ball had topspin.
Yeah, so Berdych hit it down into the ground.
You know which one I'm talking about, the blue court.
Yep.
So anyways, like I'm seeing these comments and now I start second guessing myself. I'm like, what? Do people know something I don't? But it is what it is. There's nothing. What I told my good friend Mike from Vegas is like, there's nothing I could really say to change people's opinions and whatnot. And for as much as I would have liked to not have any controversy and to just have a super clean victory, it's kind of a blessing in disguise because one is it builds callous, right? I'm sure it's not the last time that I'll be involved in some type of controversy. Like it just happens in sports. And I mean, I got like it had a lot of views. And I think for somebody like me that's trying to, make this full time, that exposure is not bad. So
yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, what is the goal now, right? So, are you gonna quit that job? Are you going to
give butter? Shout out,
yeah,
dude.
Are you gonna quit the job, go full time, like test the waters? What's the plan for Raf?
So it's funny timing because literally 2 minutes before I hopped into this meeting, Lucy, our people ops, messaged me and she's like, "Hey, our director of sales messaged me about setting up a call with you as like a stay interview." Like literally right as I hopped into this meeting. So everybody knows at Give Butter that's been my goal. Like we had our sales kickoff in January, and I knew that this year I had to play a lot more tournaments. I had to be competing more, and that's my goal. Like I really want to go full time, and I don't know if I'll say like quit the job here and now, on this interview, but yeah, everybody knows. My manager knows, our director of sales knows that this is like my true passion. So we'll see what
Sure.
happens. I don't know. I've been taking it day by day. It's been so hectic. Like I can't even manage my day properly these last couple of days. So
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a lot going on for sure, and you followed it up with some other good wins. Are you then APP, PPA? Like, what are you thinking in terms of like where you're gonna play the rest of the year?
yeah,
What's next? What's the next tournament for you?
the next tournament is APP in Newport in like a week and a half. So I got to get back to the routine and dial back in, make sure I'm super ready for that. Follow the Alex Crum path, right? Let's make finals. Let's go
Let's
one
go.
step further. Let's win. But we'll see. APP is tough because it's a lot of traveling. And like now, obviously, I'm still working, so I can't just be taking PTO all the time. I would love to play at the PPA tour. That's where all the best players are at. I want to compete with Connor, with Hunter, with Fed, Ben, Christian. I want to run into all these guys. It just has to, like, I just have to be able to pay my bills. That's what it comes down to. I was talking to my buddy Troy Aiken, and it's like, if there's one thing I'm better than pickleball at, is like budgeting and making sure I can pay bills. So as long as that
There you go.
somehow, if that happens, like I'm all in. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, Raf, where can the people find you? What accounts are we growing these days?
Yeah, man. Instagram, my follower count doubled. I didn't have a lot of followers before. I barely ever posted. Now I got to figure out how to manage that. But it's just Rafa Lenhard, RafaLenhard. I don't have Twitter or X. Yeah, we'll see. I'll try to post some reels or something. Maybe ChatGPT will give me some good tips on
There you go.
how to make this whole thing work. So
it couldn't hurt. Give yourself another job now. Posting
yeah,
on social
yeah,
media.
right.
But
Exactly,
Raf,
man.
dude, appreciate it. Congrats on the win. Good luck in Newport Beach, and thanks for coming on the pod, dude. Thanks for letting people get to know you.
Zane, thanks so much, man. This was wild. I hope to be seeing you again really, really soon.
100%. Absolutely. Let's do it, man.
All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy, Raf. Welcome to the podcast, Seymour Rifkind. I've actually known Seymour since just about the time that I got started playing pickleball. We probably met in 2016, 2017, 2018, something like that.
I think it was earlier than that even. I think it goes back to maybe 15 or 16.
Dang. Okay. Yeah. So Seymour is a legend of the game, the founder of the World Pickleball Foundation, and you have done something that I did not think was possible. You have gotten the UPA and the APP to agree on something.
Right.
They both gave you, when you announced the merger between WPF and IPF, they both posted their support for this merger. I never thought that this would happen. So can you take us through basically like what is WPF, what is IPF, and what does this merger mean for pickleball and Olympic ramifications?
Yeah. So first off, thanks. It's great to be on the podcast. Really appreciate all the work that you've done promoting pickleball and everything that you do for pickleball, in addition to your play. I just want to get that out there. So the International Olympic Committee has certain rules and specifications. And one of the most important rules is that to be considered a member of the International Olympic Committee and to have any opportunity to participate in the Olympic Games, you need to have an international federation that represents your sport. For 2 years, going back to 2018, there was IPF and WPF. WPF was formed in 2018, 2019. IPF changed their name to IFP initially, and then it changed their name to IPF back in, I think, 2022. And there's been, a lot of politics in pickleball, not much different than in the professional side of pickleball. Unfortunately, I think our sport gets more attention for the politics that's going on as opposed to all the benefits that the game provides. But there was a time where there were three international federations. Three international federations is a joke. The International Olympic Committee, I can tell you, loves pickleball. Checks all the boxes of what they're looking for any new sport to be accepted at the IOC. Our biggest problem has been us. And on the international side, it's because we've had three different federations. So this goes back 2 years. We've tried. WPF has reached out to IPF. Too many acronyms here, right?
Yeah.
In order to get this accomplished. It was stop and go. And then I think last December, November timeframe, we made an announcement that this was really going to happen. We put together a transition team. There were two people from WPF and two people from IPF. They worked through and worked very hard every week, all the details in order to make the merger happen. And so, now the two longest standing international federations are one. We are following the Olympic Charter exactly as it required. We've had a advisor by the name of Mike Jackie, who has been responsible for helping three other sports federations get accepted into the International Olympic Committee, and he's been fantastic. So, we are now beginning to put together a new board that will get elected in August per our bylaws. And, the motto that we have is basically what the Olympic Charter proposes and expects for every sport, is that every country is represented internationally and each country gets an opportunity to vote. So one
Yeah.
country, one vote, good governance, all of those types of things. So that's kind of where
Yeah.
we're at.
How many countries do you have now under the new merged entity?
Well over 100. I don't know the exact number, but well over
Sure.
100. Yeah,
And so the other entity that's in the conversation now is the Global Pickleball Federation, which was launched in late 2023.
right.
And can you give a little bit of background on that? Because now it seems like we're still somewhat divided. We have the new entity that you guys have that has more countries involved, but you have the Global Pickleball Federation, which was launched after the withdrawal of the US from the IFP, IPF landscape. Can you tell us, that's confusing to me. I don't even know what that means. Does that
Yeah,
basically mean that USAP withdrew from IFP a couple years ago?
yeah. So the history there goes back to 2022. USA did remove itself from the IFP, and they convinced 8 other countries to do likewise. So there were 9 countries that left. They actually formed what was called the United Pickleball Task Force. And we had 4 or 5 months of meetings with the task force. There were several representatives from WPF, several representatives from UPTF. They wanted to make certain that the bylaws, our initial bylaws, would be updated, which 99% of it had already been updated. We just were in the process of completing it when we got together. And then when we were probably at our last or second to the last meeting, abruptly USAP pulled out. And one of the things that we agreed on from the very start was that USA Pickleball would follow what the majority of the other 8 countries wanted to do. All the other countries, including WPF, were all stunned by this. And I knew right then and there that they did not like what was happening, simply because we were following the model of 100% democracy. And USA Pickleball felt, because they are USA Pickleball, that they should control the International Federation. And if you take a look at the bylaws of the USA Pickleball, they would never be accepted at the IOC. They're not IOC compliant. They've never had an AGM. And the Global Pickleball Federation, for all of their talk, their bylaws are not IOC compliant. So, this is just a lot of smoke and mirrors. Global is, I'm concerned, Zane, to be honest with you. For some reason, they believe winning the battle amongst the international federations in pickleball are more important than the governance of our sport by true pickleball people. Because what's taking place right now, and I warned people of this 5 years ago, is that tennis in particular sees the amount of money that is coming into pickleball, sees the number of courts that they're losing to pickleball, sees many of the legends of their game moving over to pickleball. They're not happy about it.
Right.
What they are happy about and what they'd love is to get a piece of all that money that's coming into pickleball. So there has been discussions I first heard of these discussions 5 years ago, that pickleball, if they can't remove pickleball, and they thought initially it was just a fad. Obviously, that's not the case, that they would just take it over. And there is a September, the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, is voting on whether or not they should take over pickleball. Now, taking over pickleball, you could say you want to do it, but you need to have another international federation that is willing to do so. Now, my fear, I don't have any facts to share, but my fear is that GPF is considering, or maybe is already planning, to join and come under the umbrella of ITF. I believe.
Interesting. So basically, so for me to understand,
Mhm.
The IOC more or less acknowledges pickleball as a
Up and coming
sport that
sport.
they want to include in the Olympics, but they don't think that it can self-govern at this point. So they would
Correct.
turn to ITA, which administrates tennis for the IOC, correct? In
ITF
order to
does.
ITF, I'm sorry,
Yep.
ITF to administrate that, and they would likely partner or potentially partner with GPF.
So we need to separate two things that are very important here, Zane. ITF would like to be able to bring pickleball under their umbrella.
Right.
That in and of itself does not mean that the IOC is going to accept it.
Sure.
Okay, that's a whole different story. And you know a little bit about my background in gymnastics. I've worked with 5 Olympians, 2 Olympic champions. I've got a number of colleagues that are at the IOC, and I have been told that the IOC does not like to bring one sport under another. They've done
Yeah.
it in a couple of instances, but it has never worked out well. They see pickleball as being one of the premier sports, and in order for that to happen, all of their experience has demonstrated that it needs to be run by pickleball people, not have a potential conflict of interest, which obviously tennis would have.
Right. So you're not crazy bullish on that occurring. You're not crazy bullish on the IOC going to the ITF for this.
I
But it's a possibility.
It is a possibility. The information I get is that the IOC, it would be difficult for the IOC to pass that amongst their board. That
Got
there
it.
may be that there. I know for certain that there is several people within the IOC, and I know that the ITF is very interested in this. But in order for it to actually pass and to get majority by the IOC, I think that that's a long shot. So all these
Gotcha.
efforts, the smoke and mirrors that GPF is doing, they recently released a video of them being at in Lucerne. They said they had meetings. They didn't say who they had meetings with. Additional publicity is not going to get you accepted at the IOC. You need to follow their very
Sure.
strict guidelines. And I can tell you that, the IOC knows of one international federation of pickleball that has done all of the work, and that's WPF. WPF got pickleball accepted as a exhibition sport in 2022 at the World Maccabi Games. In 2023, we got accepted as an exhibition sport at the Asian Games. This year, we would have been a full participating sport at the Maccabi Games, but obviously the war between Iran, it was just pulled last week, so it will be a full participating sport next year. Those are actionable items. It's not a race to see who has more countries
Sure.
that are members. Is it important? Sure. But what's really important, and they will examine this, is are those countries that you say are members legitimate? In other words, do they have, are they a not-for-profit organization? Do they have a board? Have they been in business with separate bank accounts? I mean, there's a bunch of, let's just say, very suspicious activity going on at a number of countries where there are multiple national governing bodies.
Sure, sure. Well, so how do you, like, going back to the beginning of this call on the merger, how do
Yeah,
you think that this impacts the timeline of pickleball being in the Olympics? It's a great question. Like, I see it spoken about all over the place on social media.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to guess that 99.9% of the people who are commenting on social media about this don't know what they're
no,
talking about.
correct.
So let's ask somebody who does, whose main mission has been to get pickleball into the Olympics for a long time. How does this impact the timeline? And if you were a betting man that had to put, say, $50,000 on which year pickleball is going to be in the Olympics, what year would you bet on?
Well, that's a really difficult question to answer,
I
Zane.
don't. Well, I'm not going to ask you easy questions,
Of
Riff.
course, of course. That's why you're the number one podcast, right? So I would say that, well, I'm going to answer it in a couple ways. First off, there is still a possibility that we could get into 2028. People say
Okay.
it's impossible. I'm just telling you, and I've heard this directly from the IOC. If we want you in, you're in. Period.
Mhm.
And there have been examples of other sports that have gotten in with less than 4 years,
Wow. Okay.
even though the rules say 7 years.
Mhm.
So I can tell you that is still a possibility, especially because it's in LA and because our sport was invented here.
What percent chance are you putting that at? Less than 25? Like
Yes.
what? Yeah. Okay. So a small chance.
Yeah, I would say 10%. Things would have to fall together very, very quickly. The possibilities of that happening would increase dramatically if GPF would come back and join, which they've been invited to do on several occasions. So that really is the one stumbling block that potentially still exists.
Gotcha.
I think 2032 is highly likely. I would say it's 50%.
2032 is Brisbane, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then 2036, I would say, is a much more likely time frame, just based on what's been happening with other sports and with the popularity of our sport. But like I said, I would not be a bit surprised if we got into 2028 or 2032.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So is 2032 where you're putting your chips if you've got to go all in on 28, 32, or 36?
I guess it just depends on the politics within our sport, Zane.
Yeah.
I can't call that, right? I mean, I've been battling that for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, sure. So it does seem to me like, and I'm curious how this is going to work out. It seems like to me that we're still, let's say GPF merges. Let's say you've got every single country in the world on board with things. It still seems to me, and again, as a non-expert in Olympics,
right,
it seems like we've got a few things that we've got to get sorted out: paddle testing, drug testing, and other forms of cheating, line calls.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that. But those things can be corrected very quickly. Okay, the drug testing at WPF we already put together a handbook for WADA. All we've got to do is become a signatory that basically is putting in your application and paying $20,000 or $25,000. I don't remember what it is. The technology exists to get the line calling done correctly. We just got to get the money invested into doing it right. That can be addressed quickly. I really do believe, if you take a look, I got my hands on some statistics just last week, and as much as I travel, and I spend
everywhere.
time everywhere. Here's the statistics that came out: 178 million people are playing pickleball in Asia alone, and they were defined as frequent players, not playing once a year or twice a year.
Wait, you're gonna have to send me where that came from. That's a crazy number, Riff.
It is
That's
a crazy
insane
number. Yeah. So China alone has 60 million. India leads by a significant margin, and the fastest growing one per population is Vietnam, and Malaysia is right behind them. So, I mean, if you take a look at the explosion that has taken place in just a short period of time in Asia, I could tell you, there's some major big corporations that are putting in money and will continue to put in money into pickleball. Broadcasting rights are going to go through the roof throughout all of Asia. That's where the IOC makes their money. It comes from those broadcasting rights and sponsorships by major international companies. And there's been a huge shift. If you go back 20, 30 years, most of those sponsors all came from American companies. And so US had quite a bit of power within the IOC. In fact, they were really considered bullies by the IOC. That does not exist today. Today there's certainly, sponsors that are from the United States, but there's a significant coming out of all these other countries internationally.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, all that's good to know. I would just end with this one. What is the next step for the new merged entity? I'm sure you guys have your own internal politics. Like I read the press release, you have some, internal stuff that you've got to deal with, even just naming the new entity and whatnot. But like, what's the next stepping stone or big project? Is it getting your first official Maccabi games? Is it lobbying IOC? Like, what is the next core mission of the new entity?
Yeah, so there's probably about 300 to 400 pages of documents that need to be put together in order to formally apply to the IOC. So we have an advisor that is helping us through that project, but that's probably going to take another 3 to 4 months worth of work. We need to get a number of volunteers because every non-for-profit is run by volunteers. Now at WPF, one of the things that we want to be able to do is we do want to hire a CEO. We do want to hire a COO. So we're going to reach out and try to get some donations to get us off the ground so that we can expedite this entire process. And then, one of the biggest next steps, once, a new board is put into place in August, our committees are filled out. It's going to be hosting a major, World Pickleball Games. So one of the things that the IOC is going to want to see is, okay, so you've got all these countries, it's popular. Now, can you run a major international tournament? And will all these countries, or a significant number of them, attend? And will they put together a team? And, will it be publicized? And what's the media going to be like? They want to see a true professionally run tournament by the International Federation.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, seems like lots of good steps here. I appreciate you coming on and giving us the update, Riff. Yeah, I'm excited to see just what this means. And hopefully we get 28. That's crazy to hear that 28 is still somewhat on the table. So I think a lot of people are going to be very, very excited about the merge and that news as well. So Riff, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for telling us what's going on outside of the US in pickleball. Thanks to Riff for popping on. As you can see, there's just a ton of stuff going on in the international pickleball landscape. We have the PPA Trailblazers of Yufei Long and Jamie Wei coming on next. International is huge. If you want to be involved in international pickleball, I'm looking for some help in this regard. So if you are at all interested in exploring this and you have some experience in Asia or in Europe or other parts of the world, please submit an inquiry through my contact form on my website. That's zanepickleball.com or znpickleball.com if you want to work in international pickleball and be at the forefront of it. So znpickleball.com, drop me a note there and we'll get back to you. So appreciate it.
All right, Max, welcome to the show. You are the co-founder of Superpower. Let's kick it off with this. You have a very interesting company. You guys just raised $30 million. I think you made 2 acquisitions. You've been around since 2023, I believe. But what's the vision for this thing? What are you guys trying to build?
We think there has to be a new consumer health system, right? If healthcare was started today and built from the ground up, it would fundamentally look very different. We would be way more preventative, way more personalized. We'd use a lot more technology and a lot more AI. So we're asking, assuming healthcare were built today, what should it look like? And one of our fundamental beliefs is that everyone should have a healthcare super app on their phone with all of their health data, with access to anything they need, and with an AI doctor. And it's our belief that the majority of people are going to go to an AI doctor before they go to Google or ChatGPT or their primary care doctor. We're the first place they turn. And in this world, the AI won't just match the best of medicine. It will far exceed what is possible in a human-led paradigm. Now, where we're starting is an annual membership, $499, that will test someone's whole body, 100 plus blood biomarkers twice a year. We let someone add on additional tests, gut microbiomes, toxins, cancer. We connect the dots across all of the data, pull in their wearables, pull in their past medical records, and then we tell someone what to do about it and make it really easy to take action. The thing I hated about healthcare is you'd run around having to go to a million different places to work out what to actually do. We try to bring that all into one place. So anything someone needs, we ship to their home, personalized to them based on their data. If they have a question, they can pull out their phone and text their medical team. We think this is what healthcare should be like. Diagnostics, all your data in one place, medical team on demand, and everything kind of done for you so you don't have to think about it.
That's a lot. Okay. All right. You nailed it, though. You've got that down.
Cool. Yeah.
So tell me a little, I would say a lot of our readers, a lot of Zane's fans, a lot of our listeners, they have wearables, right? So they're trying to optimize their health. There's different ways of doing that. I'm sure we could all name a few of those, but just for the people to really understand, how would you contrast Superpower with some of the leading wearable and fitness trackers that are out there?
The challenge with wearables, I love wearables. I use many wearables. The challenge is you get shown what's wrong, and then that's it. Yeah. You can't really do much about it. They're very siloed. They only consider the wearable data. We will pull in wearables, we'll integrate with wearables, but the more interesting thing is how do we then make it possible to take action? For example, if we see someone connects their Oura Ring, we see their heart rate variability is low and their body temperature is high, our medical team is going to reach out and say, you might be getting sick. Do you want support? And people often say, yeah, I'd love support. I don't want to get sick. And we'll say, cool, here's an immune stack we recommend. Here's the advanced version and here's the basic version. Do you want it? And people are like, yeah, I'd love the advanced version. We're like, cool, do you want us to send this to your home? This is how much it costs. This is cheaper than Amazon because we have exclusive pricing for members. People are like, yeah, I'd love that. We send it to someone's home. Now they can actually take action and not get sick. So wearables are great, but the action layer is the important thing. Bringing all of the wearables into one place is the important thing. And what we test is biological data, gut microbiome, genomic, bloods, that kind of data you're not going to get from a wearable either.
Right. Okay. All right. So now let's take it. Let's apply it to pickleball, right? People who are listening to this podcast, definitely avid players. They might vary in terms of how competitive they are. But from a performance standpoint, helping athletes, whether it's like recovery or, I'm sure there's a long list, but what are maybe some of the most obvious applications you could see where Superpower could help improve a pickleballer's ability to just play more pickleball, feel better?
Great question. So if you look at your LeBron Jameses of the world or your Lionel Messi's or Novak Djokovic's, they are really going deep in terms of testing their body. Because when you see what's going on, you can start taking action. So I know a few of these people. Some of them are investors. Giannis Antetokounmpo, for example, the basketball player, is an investor. If you look at what he does, he's testing everything, right? He'll do a blood test akin to Superpower, which tests hormones, metabolism, nutrient levels, inflammation, gut health, liver health, heart health, and you start to see how's the body, how's it faring, what needs to change. We might say, oh, you have low vitamin D. Okay, let's take vitamin D. You have high homocysteine. Let's fix that with supplementation. You have low testosterone. We can also fix that with supplementation or lifestyle change. So many elite athletes test their body because that's the first step to understanding how to optimize their body. And that's where we start as well. Partially blood and then the other modalities. From there, we say to someone, what are your goals? What do you care about? And people come to us with all different things. Some people say, I just want to prevent disease. I don't want to get sick. Some people say, I want to put on muscle. I want to lose weight. I want to improve my cardiovascular fitness. And the question we ask is, what tools do we have in the healthcare toolkit to drive these outcomes? I believe healthcare can help you lose weight and put on muscle and live longer and prevent disease. And our job is to educate people on what the best tools are out there. Be a trusted source amidst all of the noise and shit that's on the internet, and tell someone, here's how we can help. Here's exactly what we can. So I think that's some of the ways that someone could use us. And the other way is, so the first thing is test. Second thing is achieve a health goal you have. And the third way is just keep in touch with your medical team. Right? You might have a question. My sleep's kind of bad. Can you explore this? I'm getting a bit sick. Can you support with this? When you have a question, you can reach out. And it's really nice to have that kind of doctor in your pocket that you can turn to whenever.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's always sort of surprised me when I would go to the doctor and all they would do is poke my knee, ask me how I'm feeling and if I'm smoking or sexually active. And it's the same thing every time. I don't really understand how we're actually accomplishing anything from this routine physical, more or less, right? Especially when they don't have access to blood biomarkers either. How can they tell unless something egregious has already gone wrong? How can they tell what's going on inside? I mean, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I stopped going to the doctor because I didn't feel like there was anything actionable coming from it. I'm like, I feel fine. They're going to tell me I'm fine. And when I go there, I'm going to have no idea how much I'm going to pay afterwards, right? So I like that you guys list your prices too. That's nice. That's a nice change from the current healthcare system of roll the dice and you'll figure out what you have to pay afterwards.
Yeah, look, well, 100%. The reality is an annual physical test, 20 biomarkers. It's not very many. And you miss a lot of things. I discovered I had pre-diabetes and the annual physical wasn't testing me for that. Now I was able to reverse that and get ahead of it. I found that I had mercury toxicity and mold and BPA levels that are very high. The annual physical isn't showing me that, but now maybe I've staved off a neurological condition down the road and all sorts of chronic diseases. If you bring a gut microbiome test or your wearables to your doctor, they'll laugh at you. Right? If you ask them about the latest research, often they're not up to date. Clinical practice lags research by 17 years. There's a 17-year gap. Look, it's hard for doctors. There's so much information out there. They have very limited time. They're trying to do everything in a 5 to 10 minute consult. But where it's left us is that people aren't going to the doctor anymore. Most of our members don't have a regular doctor they see because they don't feel like they get much out of it.
So can you explain how it works, right? So I'm going in to get my blood drawn tomorrow. So that'll be my baseline. I know Zane has done the same and gotten initial feedback. And then throughout the process, you're repeatedly, maybe you can talk about the frequency, going to get your blood drawn, and then you're kind of comparing and contrasting the results. You have a baseline, you know where you want to get, and then you're tracking that over time to see, okay, where am I improving? Where could I continue to improve? And maybe what are some other issues that have potentially arose in the interim between the last test and this test? But you talk a little bit about like how exactly it works.
Yeah, totally. So someone signs up, it's $499 for the year, and you join and you decide what the things are that you want. So at the base level, you're going to get 200 plus biomarker blood tests. But when you sign up, you can add on other things. You can add on cancer testing, toxin testing, gut microbiome testing, and a handful of other tests, depending on what is relevant for you and your budget. From there, we'll send either a nurse to your home, or you can go into one of our partner labs, and the nurse will collect your blood. They'll collect a few tubes of blood, and we will send that. If it's at home, you don't really have to do anything. There's like a 1 hour appointment slot. You have amazing communications leading up to it, telling you need to fast for 8 hours before, for example. And they'll collect your blood, and then around 3 days later, your results start trickling in. And then by the end of the week, so 7 days later, you have all of your results in. And we'll summarize that for you in a Superpower score out of 100, which takes into account all of the data points at once, and then into a biological age, where we take into account several of them and try to predict age. And then we'll show you all of the individual biomarkers. We'll show you, is it normal, is it out of range, or is it optimal? And the goal is to be optimal. Most blood tests you get at the doctor don't have an optimal range. They just have normal and out of range. Our belief is normal is not optimal. And if we care about our health, we should be aiming for optimal. And you can see where you are, and you can read about why you might not be where you want to be. We'll then pull in your past medical records if you want. You have to give us consent, but if you want, we'll go around to all the different EMRs and pull in all of your past medical records. You can integrate your wearables, or a Whoop, 8 Sleep, any others. And we have what we think of as a full picture of your data. From there, we'll build you an annual report. So we have a medical team plus AI that will connect the dots across all of this data. And the goal is to get to the root of what is going on. Right? Not to say here's the Band-Aid solution, but here's the root of what is going on with your health. And we give this big report to members, which creates this holy like shit response, because they're like, this is the first time I've actually seen my health described to me in this way. Mm-hmm. Right? Like in concierge medicine clinics that charge $100,000, they do that. Most people don't get that. Now they do. So you'll get the report, and you'll get to the end of the report, and we'll say, now do you want to take action? Right? What are your goals? How can we make it easy for you to achieve those goals, and you want to take action? We'll say you can do that through us. You can do that elsewhere. Our job is to give you the best at the cheapest price, cheaper than elsewhere. So many people want to do it through us. And that will cost extra. Like if someone wants hormone replacement therapy, as an example, that's not going to be in the $499, unfortunately. That costs more. If someone wants really intensive supplement regime, because that suits them and their biomarkers and their goals, that will cost extra. But 20% cheaper than Amazon, 20% cheaper than everywhere else. Members should be able to get members-only prices on anything they want, and that's within the ecosystem. And the final thing is, when you have a health question, you have two options. One is you can go to your AI. So we build a little like AI that knows all of this about you, has all of your data, has a bit more medical knowledge than ChatGPT. And people love researching with that, exploring their data, asking it questions, uncovering things. Or you can go to your medical team. So via text message, everyone has access to a medical team, and you can pull out your phone and you can send a text to that team, and they can help you get what you need.
Cool. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of like big terms, right? Kind of a lot of science behind it. I would envision maybe some of our listeners thinking like, this is like too advanced. Like, I don't need this. Like, I just play casually, right? I'm not a Zane or one of these pro athletes who's trying to optimize every aspect of my health. What are like some of the applications and benefits for just like the average Joe who just wants to go on the court and have fun, isn't trying to improve every aspect of their life?
My belief is, if you care about health, you should be doing annual blood testing. That is like a starting point. I just think that you can catch lots of things. You can make sure nothing's going to creep up on you. If you care about health, like people spend $5 to $10K a year in insurance, $499 on blood work that can completely change the outcome of your life if you catch something, I think is something the majority of people who care about health should do. So the base case is you don't have to do the optimization. Maybe you want to take one supplement or start one new thing, but the base case is this data allows you to make sure nothing is happening. Nothing's like egregiously wrong, that you don't have prediabetes or mercury toxicity the way I did. And yeah, it's my belief that hopefully we get to a world where more people are taking this preventative step because more people are caring about health.
I'm sure there's probably, can you tell us other things that the Superpower app has caught for people, right? Like, are there things that are going to be correlated with early onset cancer, dementia, whatever? Like, I'm sure it's more than just pre-diabetes and mercury toxicity. Can you tell us some other stories of what Superpower has helped to catch for people?
Yeah, so we have a cancer test that we'll sell. We work with a partner lab for that, and that has detected cancer. Right, it's an early stage cancer detection test, so 50 kinds of cancers. The toxin testing is always interesting because a lot of people are very high in BPA, mercury mold, which has all sorts of systemic effects. Hormonal health, people find interesting. We see a surprising number of women with thyroid challenges, and that's causing chronic fatigue, it's causing brain fog, it's causing poor sleep, and we can help someone fix their thyroid health. We see a lot of men with testosterone lower than it should be, which is partially because of the nature of the world around us, and we educate people about that, and they start taking steps to change it, and all of a sudden they feel so much more alive and they have so much more energy. We see people with high LP(a). That's a biomarker that shows more or less your genetic risk for heart disease. And if that's really high, you have a pretty good chance of getting heart disease, right? Now, if it's really high, what that means is let's start preventing heart disease today, right? Let's not wait for it to come when you're 55. Let's start preventing it today because you have this genetic higher risk of heart disease. And that's really salient for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, it's all, honestly, it's very, very fascinating. I think like we have a pretty wide range of listeners. There are college pickleball players who listen to this. There are retirees who listen to this. And I think we're trying to figure out, how does this specifically apply to pickleball? But at the same time, these are just everyday people, right? So I feel like this has applications across the board. If I'm looking at your LinkedIn, I know one of your stated goals is you want to take this thing and build a $100 billion company, which means you probably have a pretty strong belief that the addressable market is a lot of people, just about everybody. But you have two other co-founders. How are you guys game planning? Like just from a business standpoint, how do you take it from where you guys are now to a $100 billion company?
Yeah, so we believe that the majority of people will have a consumer health membership. Today, that's $4.99. In the future, the goal is to get that to as close to free as possible, paid for by third parties, employers, payers, etc. That consumer health membership will include annual testing, all your data in one place, access to the AI, access to your private medical team, and 20% off all supplements and pharmaceuticals. It's akin to an Amazon Prime for health. Think of that at $99, maybe $199, for example. 150 million Americans have Amazon Prime, right? We see 150 million Americans caring about health and wanting to have a membership to what it means to be healthy. So that's the first step. How do we have this membership that it makes sense for the majority of people to own? The second step is how do we say all of the places people are spending money on health today, how can you do that with Superpower and how can we make it cheaper for you? Right? A lot of these pharmaceutical companies make 80% gross margin selling a commodity. How can we sell that at half the price, a third of the price? So how can we bring a lot of someone's existing health spend? The US spends $4 trillion in health, so it's quite a lot of money. How can we bring just a small sliver of people's existing health spend and bring that into Superpower because we only have the highest quality things, we'll do it cheaper than anything else out there, and it's interconnected. It's within the ecosystem, the data feeds back into the ecosystem, it's all shipped to your door, etc. So that's the vision. Annual membership akin to Amazon Prime with access to an ecosystem that is cheaper and better than elsewhere.
Is it available right now? I know there was I read something about a pretty long waiting list. We got the shortcut through the door, so we're signed up. But can the average person go and be a Superpower customer today?
Yep, they can. Superpower.com or superpower.com/welcome is probably the better page to start the journey.
And anything else that we missed that, I'm sure you guys have a lot going on, but anything else we didn't touch on?
I think people are always interested about where the industry is heading. There are all sorts of hot topics. I know that BPA and microplastics is in vogue. I suspect mold is going to be in vogue. Hormones are something which people tend to find interesting because of how dysregulated they are now. And I think peptides are going to be a mega category as well. We're still early, but I think that's the sleeper at the moment. Like our team doesn't get sick. Every time we're about to get sick, we take a peptide that causes our immune system to be fine again. Like sickness is a thing of the past, and that's a harbinger of where the world is heading with these compounds. Now, we're not doing them yet through Superpower, but I think all of these health trends are definitely in the culture at the moment.
Yeah, well, it'll be exciting to follow along. I was stoked to be able to test it out. And as you mentioned all the way back at the beginning of the podcast, I even stopped wearing wearables because it would give data without action, and you're looping all of that together. You're giving even more in-depth data on the blood with the actionable steps of an actual doctor reviewing this type of stuff with AI. And so I'm assuming the overall goal is to continue to grow and even find new links to some of these different biomarkers as well. Like, I just get the sense that you're going to continue to expand the amount that can be tested on this type of stuff as well. And because, like you mentioned, there's constantly new developments coming out in 25 years ago. Would you even have been testing for microplastics, right? Like, who knows? But I'm just excited to be in on the ground floor and getting a better sense of my own health and whatnot too.
Yeah, no, look, 100%. I feel like we're still early. I think often about assuming AGI is here, what still matters, and health still matters, right? I think health actually becomes one of the most important problems. Extending and enhancing human life is like something which defines existence, right? So we're early. Us three are interested, and I think this is an early sign of where the world is heading, which is more people testing, more people caring about health, more people improving their health, and having the tools and knowledge of how to do so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, and will we see you? Will we see Superpower in and around pickleball more frequently? Are you guys looking at this space? Like, we can see at any events, or you guys have any like specific pickleball activations that are coming up?
The partnership is teaming on specifics, but yes, we want to get more involved with the sport. The sport is taking the world by storm.
Yeah, we can help with that. This is just this is just a backdoor way to pitch you live on a podcast where you can't say no. So
nice. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Max, super interesting. Congrats on everything that you guys are doing. Excited to follow along with the journey and appreciate you coming on the pod.
Thanks, guys. Great chatting. Good to be here.
Appreciate it, Max. Thanks. We made it happen. All right, good. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the podcast, Yufei Long and Jamie Wei. Did I butcher it?
No, you did great. No, you did. Yeah, you're right.
Because I just figured out Wang Yun, and that one, to be fair, like that one, I feel like is wild to me because there's no. Anyway, I digress. But I got destroyed for pronouncing it wrong. Please tell me if I am pronouncing it wrong, and then we can just sort it out from there.
Yeah, no, you did great.
Jamie and Yufei. Okay, perfect. Well, congratulations on your guys' win. You guys had a good weekend in singles, and then obviously, the couple of upset wins in doubles were obviously out of nowhere. People didn't know you in the States before this, right? And you guys are part of the PPA Asia Trailblazers program. So let's start kind of from the beginning. How did you guys get involved with the PPA Asia Trailblazers program?
Jamie, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So the program was released probably in the middle of like March or April. And that's when I decided, roughly about the same time when I decided that I want to go full time playing Pickleball Pro. And then my agent was the one actually told me about the program, asked me to apply for it, and then yeah, and that's
Flaxman,
pretty much
right?
how it started. Yep.
Is that Flax?
Yep,
Flax?
Flaxman.
Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
How about you, Yufei?
Yeah, for me, I think I randomly saw the application link on Facebook mid February, and I just wanted to give it a try because it's a short form. So I was like, why not? And if I get in, I'll figure out the rest. And then it worked out so well.
Yeah, but I feel like I talk to a lot of people in the States who are just kind of coaching a tennis job or doing some sort of random work, and they're like, yeah, you know what, I'll give Pro Pickleball a try. But Yufei, you gave up you deferred a PhD program in biomedical informatics to pursue pickleball.
Yeah.
And then Jamie,
Yeah.
you had a master's in sports business. So it's not like you guys were just sort of sitting around doing nothing. Like, you had to make some pretty tough decisions to go ahead and actually join this program. So can you take me through, like, how did you guys decide to give up and defer the cool stuff that you were already doing?
Yeah, for both of us, I think we're just like really passionate about pickleball. For me, I was playing kind of like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, but back home in Nashville, while I was working at the Vanderbilt Medical Center, and I just trying to find like all the downtime to play pickleball, and just really, really addicted to the sport. So when the opportunity came up to let me know, okay, you can compete again, to bring back that, competitive tennis fire, back in the college days, although it was a tough decision, but I think my heart kind of just tell me, okay, I think this will be a much more interesting route for you to take, and much more passionate route for you to take. So it wasn't that hard a decision.
Gotcha. How about you, Jamie?
Yeah, so pretty much the thing. I mean, both of us played college tennis here in the States. When I like after my college tennis career ended, I was kind of like didn't really have like anything to do. Was just like working and then picked up pickleball and then started competing again and then was like reminded how passionate I am about competing, right? At
Mhm.
the highest level of anything. To be honest, like competition is great. I'm very, very I feel like I'm me when I'm on court playing, grinding. And yeah, pickleball is so fun. It's been like a really, really crazy journey from like dropping my tennis racket to like picking up a pickleball paddle.
For sure. I feel like a lot of people who don't come from a sports background don't understand how, like, part of you dies when you finish playing college tennis, regardless of how burnt out you were with it, regardless of how, like, sick you were of tennis. And I've heard so many people who were, you still most people, I feel like, still want that sort of competitive thing in their life, and that's how I ended up playing pickleball as well. I was like, back when I finished college tennis, there was no real pro tour. I was just playing because I wanted to do something competitive. Otherwise, I would drive myself crazy.
Mhm,
So obviously, pickleball filled that void for all of us, and that's pretty sweet.
mhm.
Now, fast forwarding, you guys joined the Trailblazers program. Tell me a little bit about that, because I feel like people have been hearing a bunch about it. We've been seeing certain posts. Like, I know you guys have been out in Arizona training for a little while. What exactly does a day look like at the PPA Trailblazers program?
Yeah, for me, I haven't fully quitted my job at Vanderbilt Medical Center. So for the downtime, I'm just grinding and like working on my laptop most of the time. But obviously, a lot of like recovery, foam rolling, recovery, and then trying to get prepped for the second day, because sometimes we can have like really early days, like 7 a.m. training to avoid the Arizona sun, and like in the afternoon. Yeah.
So you start around 7 a.m. What does an average day of training look like in the Trailblazers program?
Yeah, so we start, yeah, fairly early. Sometimes we do like split practice with the guys. Sometimes they combine training. So training can average from 2 to 4 hours per day, and then we do weightlifting twice a week and the recovery session once every week. So it's like morning we have training, pickleball training, and then we have a little bit downtime to chill for a little bit, recover, and then we go back to like weightlifting recovery time, and then like pretty much have like the rest of the day to ourselves. And it depending on like Yufei, she like works and stuff. So it really just like depend on what you do. Sometimes we like plan trips to go like shopping and stuff in Arizona. So like to see around, to see like the city and stuff.
Sure. I know you guys have done some work with Jordan Briones, right? Who else
Hmm.
is sort
Mhm.
of like coaching the Trailblazers, or are you guys just working on this together? Like, who's sort of in charge?
Yeah, giving a shout out to Greg Dahl and Caden. Damn, I don't
Oh
know how to
yeah?
pronounce Caden's last name. So
Nemov,
there you go.
the great Kaden Nemov.
Nice. Those are good dudes. They certainly, I'm sure, would make it fun, and I think they would be good participants in the Trailblazers program as well. They should probably try and learn from what they're teaching you guys. Well, sweet. Okay, very cool. How many people are in the program as well? And it's wrapping up pretty soon here, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's actually wrapping up this Friday. So on the
Okay.
27th, most of us have our departure flight back to Asia. But yeah, so it's wrapping up. It's been 3 months. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Okay. How many people approximately would you guess?
12. So we have 6
12.
guys
Okay.
and 6 girls. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So are you guys then all going back to different places, or are you going to go to a central location, sort of train together? Like, yeah, where do you go from here?
I think there's discussion within the group about a centralized training location between the tour stop in China, but I don't think that's like a finalized plan yet. So for now, I think we're going back to the respective country and like getting prepped for the first PPA Asia stop, which is in Malaysia.
Yeah, just a couple weeks from now. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Well, thanks for shedding a little bit of light. That is something that's pretty unique in pickleball. I've never seen anything like the Trailblazers program. So I think it's going to be pretty cool to have been a part of that. And I think it'll be a pretty impactful group. And you guys did a really, really good job of advocating for it in your last PPA US tournament of the year before heading out there. So that was pretty cool. It takes us to that tournament where you guys partner up. You both have to go through the qualifiers and singles as well, don't you? Or
Yeah.
so you go through the qualifiers. You both end up with upset wins in the first round. But the main thing that people are remembering from this one is you go through the qualifiers in doubles as well, and you pull
Mhm.
off a huge upset against Lacey Schneeman and Georgia Johnson. Now, I'm
Hmm.
curious, to that point, have you ever even played somebody like of that level? Have you ever played somebody akin to a Georgia Johnson or a Lacey Schneeman before that?
So my very first PPA tournament was actually last year in Bristol, Tennessee. I actually played against Lacey.
Okay.
Yeah, got shit on. But yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, Lacey lives in Austin now, and sometimes she practices with us. And there are some days where we win. There are some days where she shits on us too. So I've been there.
Yeah, really high level players.
Okay, so you've played Lacey before. How about you, Yufei?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is my third overall PPA Pro tournament. So the last one we play was in Atlanta, the Atlanta Slam. We also played together, and there we lost to Zoe
Mhm.
and Brooke Buckner. So I think that was the probably best player women's doubles we play against. And in that one, we lost in
Yeah.
2 sets. So I feel like yeah, we're pleasantly surprised to get this win because it kind of showed a lot of progress within like a month. We like went back and worked on a lot of stuff.
Was it only a month? Oh, I guess it was a
Yeah, I
month
think
between Atlanta but you
Mhm.
guys came and started the program, you said in March, right?
April.
Uh, yeah.
April, okay. Gotcha. So going into it, playing against Lacey and Georgia, are you guys like tight? Are you nervous? Or is it just like, yeah, we've got nothing to lose?
Yeah. I think that was pretty much the mindset. Pretty much just rip everything, right? Play big, play our game, and just like step on the court like we belong there.
Yeah, very cool. Well, you guys obviously did it. That's a huge win. And you weren't just a one-trick pony. You guys followed it up against a good team of Andrea Koop and Alex Trung. So, I don't know, I think that's a huge testament to the program. And I'm curious now, like, are you playing just the full PPA Asia schedule now for the rest of the year? Or what other events are you playing? Are you going to come back to the States for some as well?
Yeah.
I think
So Yufei is actually based in Nashville, and I'm actually
Mhm.
based in Charlotte. So both of us are based in the US. We'll be playing the full schedule of PPA Asia, but when there's like a gap, we will also be playing some PPA US tournaments.
Yeah, okay. So I thought you mentioned that you were going back, that everybody was going back to their respective places, and like I guess I knew that you guys were here in the States.
Mhm.
I guess I was just curious. I suppose the PPA Asia schedule is spread out enough where you can
Mhm.
travel back and forth and there's enough time in between. So that makes sense.
oh yeah, I was gonna add, I think both of us are planning to play the Bristol PPA, which is in I think like 5 hours away from Nashville. So that was like kind of between the first and the second stop of PPA Asia. We have like a good month or so, like a month and a half. So we're planning to play some more PPA US stops.
Very cool. I'm curious if you guys we have a question from Instagram. Have you guys played any of the Australian PPA players, or have you played any of the top PPA Asia players? And how do you feel like the level between the Trailblazers, PPA Australia, and PPA Asia compares?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I actually played in the MLPA season 2 last year. I was on the same team as Liz Trulock. Our team ended up winning the season 2 title, which was great. But also like along that, we also play in like I also played in the PPA tournaments in the morning. So I would say that obviously PPA US still has like the strongest level out of all three of these. But we are still, I say, maybe like a year or two behind on like the skill set. But then again, I don't like I generally do believe that these are things that can be overcome through training. Just depends on like how much people want it, right?
And then we've got another question from Paradox on Twitter. Do you guys notice, I suppose, any play styles from some of the other people at the Trailblazers program that are different between the play styles of pros here in the US? Like, are there any themes or differences in the play between the Trailblazers and pros here? Not an easy question. I don't know how I would
Yeah,
answer that
that
one,
was a
but
yeah, that was kind of deep. Trying to think
yeah.
what some representative things. I feel like uh the only thing I can think of is so Kim Won in our team is the number one player in Korea. So he has a very strong tennis table. Table tennis background. So that his technique is, I feel like, very driven by that background and have a very strong like back end focus and then very good counter. But I think doesn't drive as much as like some of the top guys. I would say.
Interesting. Well, where can people follow along with your guys' journeys?
Yeah, so PPA Asia Tour on Instagram, Jamie Wei Pickleball on Instagram, Yufei Long on Instagram.
There we go. That was easy enough. That wasn't too painful, was it?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
No, that's
shout it out.
great.
You gotta get accustomed to it. You gotta promote yourself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jamie, Yufei, thank you guys so much for coming on, and congrats again on the win. Nice to end the Trailblazers program on such a high. I'm sure the people who put that on were super super excited about it as well. So, congrats to you guys as well, and excited to see how you guys do on the PPA stops and the PPA Asia stops this year.
Yeah, thank you for
Awesome.
having
Thank
us
you.
in the
Thanks for
podcast.
having us.
Of course, say hey to Flaxman for me, Jamie.
Yeah, will do.
All right, welcome back to the pod, T-Dog. We got to talk about all the things that happened at PPA San Clemente. We've got a new world number one, in my opinion. Ben going out first round. PPA Trailblazers. Travis's brutal hook. Are Anna and Anna going to lose a game? Fed quitting Adidas. A new Big Four. Is Catherine back in singles? I feel like we got a bunch of different stuff to talk about, but I guess we can start from the top with just a few different people who were out. Deckel was sick, and it looks like Riley has some tear in his hip. You have any extra info on Riley?
Yeah, I saw that he said something about an adductor, which is that's the extent of my knowledge.
It's a
I
hip
was
thing.
not. It's a hip thing, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a partially torn adductor, which could take like 2 to 3 weeks, or it could take 2 to 3 months. So we'll see how that's going for him.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, we also had Kwong with a partially torn PPA contract, so he was out.
Yeah,
Now, I really thought that I cooked with that one. I thought that was funny, but
I did too. Did you get some backlash on that one? I thought it was really funny.
I thought it was clever. Come on. Yeah, so he was obviously out with his suspension, but then we also had Grayson Golden and Judit Castillo join the PPA. How has Judit been doing in singles on the APP? Do you know?
She honestly hadn't been doing like phenomenally. I think she does have like 1 or 2 medals on the APP this year. But just remember, like, there's 2 things that I want to bring up on that. First and foremost, rally scoring in singles to 15 is just an absolutely insane way to play singles, in my opinion. Like, it feels like a crapshoot every time I watch. And for Chris Hayworth to just like win a whole year's worth under that competitive situation is absolutely insane. But back to Judit, remember, like, Megan Fudge is there, and also Sophia's been crushing everything on the APP tour. So Judit not winning many medals in APP didn't really surprise me that much, but she played great this weekend.
I
Looked
thought so. That's why I was
super sharp.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she end up with bronze or did she finish 4th?
Yeah. No, she won bronze. Like,
She won bronze.
first time back in a PPA in basically 5 months, 6 months. I easily put her in my top 10 if I was power ranking women on the PPA tour right now, for sure. And I'd have her in 8th, I think. Like, she played really well, and she moves like she's an elite mover.
Yeah, she looked good playing singles out there. Takes bronze in her first one back, and then Grayson lost to somebody pretty good. I forgot who it was.
Connor.
It was Connor. Yeah, okay. So that's tough. He's gonna have seating issues for a while here, but
actually he won't. Like, so when Hunter and Yates came over from the APP tour, Hunter was like 35th. And like he talked about it in this, and well, I'm sure we'll get to Hunter in a second, but like he was like Fed round of 32, Ben round of 32. Grayson has enough points where he was seated 17th right now, so I don't think he'll run into the same issues there. But also I do want to point out, like, talking about the Wang Yung was scheduled to play with Jay DeVilliers. And so obviously he had to drop. Jay picked up Grayson, and Grayson played way better than I thought he was in doubles with Jay. They took Fed and Hayden to a third game and played really well. Like,
I didn't even realize that.
I was shocked. I was talking to a couple people around the league, and they were like, we did not think he was here at this level right now. So he made, even though they lost in like the round of 32 or whatever, I think he made a really good name for himself in the doubles part as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Do you think Rafa Lenhard is going to sign now? Like, does he have to? Like, because obviously a couple weeks ago we had Alex Crum, who made a good singles run at the Atlanta Slam, got himself into the top 50, which basically meant that he was no longer allowed to play unless he signed a PPA contract. Does Rafa Lenhard making a quarterfinal give him enough points here to be top 50, you think? He's good?
No. Yeah, he's good. So Crum, two things. Crum did it at a slam, and then so that's worth more points. And then also Crum had a couple of PPA points from previous events, and I feel like this was like Rafa Lenhard's like 3rd or 4th event he's ever played, which is absolutely insane. Do you know what they both have in common, Zane?
They both beat somebody really good and then beat me.
Yep, that was exactly what I was going to go with. Yeah, you nailed it, dude. Great job.
Yeah, somehow I just get to be a part of these great runs. I'm glad that I'm, a part of them. I know, it's great. Like, they throw in there that, like, somebody was very quick to point out that the Rafa Lenhard upset on Zane Navratil really wasn't much of an upset, and it wasn't. But like, you just get to throw in that they upset Zane Navratil. I find that pretty entertaining.
Right. What was it like? I didn't watch much of your match. What was his like couple best attributes?
He was all around. He moved really, really well from the baseline. So got into really good position for every passing shot, more or less, and tracked down a ton of balls. He was quick at the net, and he played good cat and mouse, but so I saw in the Ben match, but like, I'm not trying to play cat and mouse with anybody. So we didn't play much cat and mouse in my match, but just a really good all around player. I was super surprised with his ability to play cat and mouse, because when I saw Ben lost, I told Raf this on when we had him on, I was like, I assumed Ben just got wiped by a tennis player who was just ripping groundies. No, he kind of got beat at his own game to a certain extent.
That's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, he'll be able to play a couple more moving forward, but if he, he makes another run like that, he's going to be either signing or not playing singles on the PPA tour.
For sure. So we got a couple other more meme things. This just deserves saying. I don't know what we need to go into it, but I feel like Jack Sock is really actually using the Nasty Nelson as a strategy. He claims it's a strategy. I think he uses it when he's actually pissed off, but I think it is a good strategy, because I've only ever seen him actually do it when he's been kind of pissed. He got Steven Madonia pretty good this time. And I mean, he can snap on a forehand better than anybody. I feel like Jack Sock can kind of Nasty Nelson at will.
Agreed. So I was watching. It's so interesting because like when you're watching these things live, obviously you have no idea what's coming next. But in that exchange, Madonia just absolutely bodies Jack bad, like in the like chest area. Okay, and you can see Jack get pissed. But then he did a really great job of like, okay, I'm pissed. I'm gonna calm myself down on this walk back to the baseline. We're gonna be fine. And then he annihilates a missile into Stephen Madonia's body, and Madonia had no chance of getting out of the way. And the other thing is this: I agree with you. Jack could basically Nasty Nelson anybody at any time. Somebody online, like internet trolls, were saying like Jack Sock needs to go for his serve more, and I'm like, Jack Sock has a top 10 serve in pickleball right now.
No, I don't agree with that.
I think if he wants to, I think he can. But like his mechanics, he just doesn't like have to swing as hard as everybody else to still hit the ball.
Really slaps at it though. Like
he does.
Can hit it super hard, and sometimes he hits it really well. Like when he's going for it, he can hit it really well. It just there's no topspin on it. It's not a topspin shot. It's a slap shot. Like, you know, I think part of it's paddle driven, but like I think if he actually went out there and decided to hit it more like a ground stroke, there's no reason he shouldn't. But he can hit the serve harder than anybody. Like, he just can't necessarily keep it in because it's like slappy.
Yeah.
All right. Other more memey things. We had Zane Ford on TMZ from that paddle smash. Dude, that guy, I don't advocate for drug use, but I feel like he needs to be on steroids now after seeing that. And I played with Zane. I get along with Zane. I'm friendly with Zane. We had him on the podcast. But I'm like, dude, if you're going to go to town on a paddle, and the paddle wins the exchange, like that's like a worse look than actually smash the paddle.
I mean, it was like smash paddle 2 or 3 times on the ground, then at least 3 times on his knee, and the paddle's still intact. Now he doesn't know what to do as he gets to the net. He's like, do I throw the paddle? Do I shake hands? What? I still have a paddle that's intact. It should be broken. I don't know what to do. Also, like, of everything in the past, let's say, year of pickleball that could get picked up by TMZ, for that to be the thing, I was just like, man, the news cycle must not be great at TMZ for this to be part of it. Like, that's crazy.
It was pretty funny. I'm really surprised that 6-0 hasn't turned that into the center of their marketing campaign yet, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty good durability. Like, obviously, the paddle is cooked, but like the fact that it even stayed intact. Now, a paddle smash, I can understand. It really just does more damage to the corners of the paddle. The paddle over the knee should be a one and done. Like, that paddle should be cooked immediately.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that was insane. And I agree. He could definitely put on some weight. Maybe we don't have drug testing yet. Let's get him on some roids.
You heard it here first. Advocating for steroid use on the PicklePod. Sweet. So another thing that we had was an absolutely brutal hook from one of the most vocal anti-hookers. Doesn't sound right, but we're going to go with that. Travis. So Travis, you know, I didn't see the rest of it. You wrote an article on this, but Travis claims to be hooked by Etienne in their men's doubles match. And he makes no secrets about brutally hooking back. And the referee obviously doesn't see either of these things. So I'm curious what you think. I mentioned this in my recap. I think that Pro Pickleball operates on an eye for an eye system. I'm not advocating for that. I don't think that's how it necessarily should be, but I think that's how it is. What's your take on this entire thing? Take us through that article that you wrote as well.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things on this. I would 100% agree with you that pros, for the most part, especially on side courts, do operate on an eye for an eye. I've seen it time and time again when I'm at tournaments. I've seen it in one of your matches. I'm not going to say which one, but I've definitely seen it multiple times.
You can say which one. Say which one.
Nope,
I'm curious.
Not happening. Nope.
Come
nope,
on.
Nope.
The only time I've ever, to my recollection, attempted to cheat was against Jack Foster in Cincinnati in like 2021 or 2022. And I actually confirmed. Now, it doesn't change the fact that I was attempting to cheat. There was an important call. The ball was going out. I think it actually landed out, but it didn't matter. I was attempting to cheat. I was going to call it out whether it was in or out, either way. I would be genuinely curious to know which other one where
So it
would've
wasn't
hooked back.
you making the call. It was other people involved in the match making
okay.
the call. So that's why I'm not naming names. But it doesn't matter whether it's you or I've seen
Damn
it a billion
now I
times.
want to know. Tice, come
I'll-
on, give us a hint. Give
It was
us a
a
little
mix.
hint for
It was a mixed game between a mixed match between you and I think it was Lina versus Daniel and somebody.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
good.
Okay.
We got good.
Yeah, for sure. And like the term, and it was the same exact thing as Travis said. That's one of a million, right? Like it doesn't matter. It's like I've heard this many times on side courts. That ball was as out as the one you called earlier, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to call that one out, then I'm going to call this one out. Now, so all that to say, this is a common practice. Should it be a common practice? I don't think so, but there's no way to really regulate that. So, but I did find this stat. Are you ready? Because I pulled some stats, which is shocking, I know. There were 283 main draw matches in San Clemente. Guess how many were on grandstand or championship court?
Let's see. 2 courts, there's probably, let's say, 7 matches per day. So 14. You probably don't even do that on the first couple days. Let's say there's like 60.
It's 102 because they actually got 11
okay.
and 10 in. So 36% of the matches, all main draw matches, are either on grandstand or championship court, which is good, right? Like that means that you don't really have much cheating because those are challengeable courts and we have video replay and all of that. The problem is 64% of the matches are on these side courts where there is no challenge ability to be had. And there's no way to like fix a call in the middle of that unless the ref happens to see it. So all that to say, Travis is playing with Connor Garnett and Etienne is playing with Callan Dawson as a qualifying group. They're in the round of 32. By the way, Callan and Etienne got a really good win over Ryan Fu and Max Freeman to get into that match. And they're playing. Travis hits an overhead bazillion miles an hour, and the ball looked like it was like a foot or 2 in. Etienne calls it out. Travis loses his mind. He's like, dude, that was in. Like, just call it in and we'll be good. No can do. Etienne sticks to it. Second game, Etienne hits an overhead. Every picture of that overhead lands easily 1.5 feet in. And Travis calls it out. And the ref is like, oh, you called it out? And then obviously the ref didn't see either one. So both stood. At the end of the day, something needs to get done about this, especially so in my article that I outlined the whole thing, there's 2 things that really come up to me on this. If we're going to get sports betting into the game, and you want to bet on any side courts, you can't be having this nonsense. Like you just
got to bet on who the better hook is.
Right, exactly. So like if we get sports betting back, are we only going to get championship court and grandstand? I guess that's an option.
No, I'm taking Al Hoonies on a side court all day.
Plus 10,000. Give it to me, baby.
Their value is way higher on the side courts.
Right. And so it's like, okay, we need to fix this. And so there's a few different options out there. I've talked to a couple people, and I really truly believe this. I don't think it has to cost a ton of money. Get a bunch of GoPros that shoot 240 feet per second. Put 4 or 5 of them on each side court because you're not going to, line judges is not a good idea. They don't fit. And like the cost of like getting actual good technology in there is probably too much. So get these GoPros, have them hooked up internally. Like the broadcast doesn't need to see it, all that. Have them go to a central location and have a video ref available for any challenge you want. Problem solved. I don't know if that's really what but like everybody I've talked to says that is a viable option.
That seems reasonable, especially because they're streaming all of them. They're not going to have definitive challenges on most courts, right? So,
right.
But it will catch the egregious hooks. And I think that you should, in the YouTube video that I created a couple months ago, I also said that you should be able to report a hook.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't necessarily impact the match. So Travis and Etienne should be able to say, look at this egregious hook that happened. Our referee didn't see it, but I want you to fucking find Travis or find Etienne.
Right.
And I think that the deterrent stage is where we're at right now. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's just a problem that is not going to go away. I feel like we just keep hoping that it's going to go away, and it's not. Like, and the people keep talking about like, well, we're going to get better cameras. I'm like, all right, well, are we going to get better cameras on every court? We're not addressing the real problems. We're addressing the problems of balls that are like a quarter inch in or a quarter inch out on center court, and that's like decent enough, but we're not addressing the balls that can be 2 feet in the court on the side courts, right?
Right.
So
Right, for sure. 100%. I'm
an
with
eye
you
for
there.
an eye because my referee is blind.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. On a different note here, since you're the stats guy,
Yeah.
Ben played Colin, and I have Ben at 24-0 all time against Colin. Do you have any other info on that?
No, but as soon as you said that, like, I think you mentioned it either in your video or something, I saw it, and I was like, wow, that's absolutely insane. And then I asked myself, is it actually absolutely insane? And here's my thoughts on it. Colin's never going to beat Ben in a mixed match. Like, I don't care who their partners are. It's not going to happen, right? So then it becomes like, and I know Colin played with other players prior to playing with Ben, but like right now, who is Colin going to get to partner with that could help him compete with Ben in a men's doubles match? Like, I just don't see that happen. So even though that's a crazy stat, I'm not that surprised at it after like thinking through, okay, who's partners with who, and like how often is this happening? It doesn't seem that outlandish to me.
Yeah, I don't think. I think best case scenario was probably a couple years ago when Colin played some with like Deckel against Ben and Matt Wright or something.
Yeah.
Or singles back in the day. I wonder if he's ever beaten
That's crazy.
Ben in an MLP, because I don't know if that took into account that. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. 24-0.
Yeah,
that's dominant. But we got some other dominant players. Look at that segue. I posted on X again because Anna Lee and Anna Bright went another tournament without losing a single game. I asked my audience what are the odds? What would you put the percentage chance of them not dropping a single game? No, I'm sorry. What do you put the odds of them dropping a single game for the rest of the year? Less than 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%, greater than 75%. The plurality of people, 38%, put that there is a less than 25% chance that they drop a game this year. T-Dog, do they drop? First off, what do you think the odds are they drop a match? And then what are the odds they drop a game?
Okay, so Nerdy T-Dog did some very deep data diving here. So I want to preface that. I think it's a very good possibility that they lose at least one game. I think it's very low probability that they lose a match. Now, Anna Bright went on yours and was like, basically anybody saying anything above 50% is absolutely crazy. Here's where I disagree with both of you. Okay. This is math. This is not me like disagreeing. Yeah. They're great. They're unbelievable. I actually can't picture the person that's going to beat them, but mathematically speaking, the odds are not in their favor. Here's the reason why. I used a website to like do a calculation. What are the odds of this thing happening? So here's what I used. Anna and Anna Lee have a 95% win or chance to win any given game that they play in. I think that's pretty fair.
I think that's low.
Okay. So
I think they're 99% against the field. I think that they're 95. I put them at 95% of games against the next best teams, which are Rachel and Catherine and Tyra and Georgia.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. So I'm saying 95% only using semis and finals. Okay, so that in every single tournament, that would only be 5 games. Make sense?
Sure.
So yeah, okay. So I counted. We have 8 PPA events left this year. Obviously, I think they're going to add some more, but on the website they have 8. So that's 5 games. 40. Now, the odds of each one is like 5%, right? That they lose. Right. But in totality, if you want 40 things to happen,
right,
all at the same time, it's basically like taking it to the 40th power, and the odds of them doing that mathematically is 13%. So is it possible? For sure it's possible. But that's like basically what I'm trying to say is that's like you doing a sports parlay of 40 teams that are at like minus 1,000 and hitting all of those 40 over the course of a 6-month period. So the odds are not in their favor. Could they do it? For sure. Will they? I don't know. I think they lose like 1 game, and that might be it. Last time we talked about this, you said 0. You still sticking to your 0?
0% chance that they lose a game?
Sorry, they lose 0 games. Last time me and you argued, and you said they're not going to lose another. They're not going to lose a game.
With them losing 0 games this year. I am. I think as you know, they had a couple of semi-tight ones. I think. Yeah, I think they also like raise their game up against the serious teams,
They
right?
do.
And I think
Yeah.
I put it at 50-50 whether they lose a game this year.
Got it.
I put it at 0 that they. If I had to bet, I'm betting on 0. If it's all in, chips on 0 or greater than 0, I'm going to go 0.
Got it. I'm still going 1.
All right, the over under. What did we have? Did we have like a $1
We
bet on
we
this or
never made
something
it. One of us is buying the other lunch. Is what's happening.
All right, deal. Yeah. So anyway, they're pretty dominant.
Hey, they're really good. Either way, they're really freaking good.
It gives us something to talk about, though.
For sure.
All right. Now, next up, we got is Hunter the number 1 player in the world? You and I went back and forth on text on this a little bit. I compiled my stats and my thoughts on it. Who's the number 1 singles player in the world?
I'm going Hunter. He's won two out of the last 4 events. He's got 6 golds in the last 52 weeks. You have to remember, like, and I know this is a little bit of recency bias, but like, Hunter was a 35 seed a year ago, and I know he wasn't really a 35 seed, but to go from 35 seed to basically a 2 seed in a year is pretty incredible. And he just beat Fed pretty resoundingly. I don't know the last time I saw Fed. I don't know the last time I saw Fed not get like 8 points when he loses. Like that was like that was
5-2 is insane.
Yeah,
5-2 is actually nuts. Yeah, I think if you're power, like I still think you have to say that Federico is the number 1 player in the world because Federico has gotten the most points over the last 52 weeks, and you can't take that away from him, right? But I think if you're betting on who's going to win the next tournament, you've got to think that Hunter is the favorite.
Agreed. And like Ben is still in that conversation, but like he also loses early every once in a while. But Ben's record against Hunter and Fed is unbelievable. So it's like it's this weird, like Ben could get knocked out by anybody.
If
Hunter
Ben
and Fed are
makes
never
it
losing.
to a semifinal, he's going to win the tournament, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody else is done.
If he can make it to a semi, he wins the tournament. If his hardest matches are the round of 64, round of 32, and honestly, probably just the first round, to be honest. Maybe round of 16.
Yep. Agreed.
Speaking of Fedi, actually, this is a good conversation, though. Like, if you are in a championship Sunday, is Ben the best player in the world on a Sunday?
Yeah, for sure.
I think he is, and I think it's not close.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like if it's like, hey, you get to pick Ben against the rest of the field, but it's only for a championship Sunday, I'm picking Ben every single time.
This can kind of go back to our like Greg Dow comment, right? He commented that Jack Sock can play like a top 20 player sometimes, and he can play like a top 200 player sometimes. Ben Johns on Tuesday is like a top 100 player. Ben Johns
Stop it.
Ben Johns on Sunday is number 1.
Ben Johns playing left-handed on Tuesday is still top 50. Okay, stop it. But yeah, I'm
exaggerating.
with you. Like
we're in the entertainment business, Tice. Come on.
Got it. But I'm with you. Like he could be a 20th singles player on a Tuesday if he's not like feeling it and like whatever. But yeah, on a Sunday,
we'll put it this way. A disengaged Ben Johns can lose to 50 players in pickleball in singles.
Yeah.
There are 50 guys who can beat Ben Johns. Is he ranked 50th? No. But there are 50 guys who can beat Ben on a disengaged Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. I could get behind that.
So I feel like other big news, and this is the last that I had from PPA San Clemente. We had Federico Staksrud officially calling it quits with Adidas. So he put out a post that said, after careful consideration, Adidas and I have decided to mutually conclude our partnership. The team put in incredible effort working closely with me to create paddles designed for my game. I'm grateful for their professionalism, dedication, and trust. Thank you to everyone at Adidas. I look forward to seeing how they continue to grow the sport. So they called it quits in like the most professional way possible for like just a brutal breakup.
Yeah, this one was like super strange to me. it's almost 5 months to the day since he signed with Adidas, and like then all of a sudden a month later, he's running around Mesa playing with Yola, and then they had to make a weird statement then. And now it's like a mutual parting. Like it's just weird. Also, like I've heard from a few players that like played this weekend, and it seemed like Mari's paddle which is going to be a new prototype coming out in September, is like actually really good. Like I've heard that from multiple players. Like they were watching and listening, and were like, this one seems like by far their best. And so it's coming out in a few months, which makes it even weirder to me that they didn't wait for that like signature paddle to come out. So it's just a strange one.
To
What are
me,
your
I've
thoughts on
always
that?
felt like I've seen the Adidas paddles, even previous generations, and they hit incredibly spinny and incredibly poppy, but they had the sweet spot of like a nickel, right? So, because of the no edge guard sort of deal. It seems like the problem isn't when you connect on it, it's when you don't, right?
Yeah.
Like the peripheries, the outsides of the fucking paddle are no good.
We're gonna need to cut some of that. I don't know which part of that we're gonna cut, but let's do it.
The outside parts are shitty, all right? That's what I'm trying to say, Tice.
Got it. Yep.
So yeah, I was thinking about this today. Even if they make a good paddle, I feel like Adidas has just absolutely ruined their brand for anybody within pickleball, like multiple times, time and time again. Like they came out multiple years ago with those first paddles that were, the laughing stock of pickleball. They finally come out and they go and invest the money in, they had Rafa Hewitt, but they go get Mari, they go get Fed. They've got the world #1 player now who uses the paddle once, loses immediately, and you haven't seen him with it again, and then quits. Can you even conjure up a worse start to a paddle company?
Yeah, I'm sure I could. Here's the
Take
deal.
some
Like
creative thinking, though.
it would for sure. I think it would involve like not passing testing right before something or something like that, plus all of this. But here's the deal. At the end of the day, and I've talked about this on the pod, but this is a good time to talk about it. Like there are a lot of players out there looking for paddle deals.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, this isn't a great start for them, but all of a sudden you get a couple like top 20 players that are still looking for paddles, and Adidas signs them, and all of a sudden they're back in business. Like, I don't think this is like irreversible by any stretch of the imagination. And to be, although this whole situation with Fed didn't work out, like I think Adidas has shown that they care about the player and are willing to work with a player. I'm very confident they won't work those types of things into a contract ever again. But like, at least they could have, PR wise, it could have gone much worse, I think, for them, if they handled it very differently.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, if they make a good paddle and they have money to pay pros, like they can recover from it, right? It's just been, and I think they can recover pretty quickly. All it takes is one really good paddle to change things completely. Right now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
I got one more for you.
All right, let's hear it.
Big four, guys, men's doubles, big four. We got the big four. There's for sure big four. Dylan and Deckel, I'm sorry you didn't play this weekend. You're not considered big five. Just big four. Those four made it to the semis again. They're clearly above the rest of the group. And I am also putting Gabe and Ben in the lead position. So it's like Gabe and Ben, then the other three are right there hovering, and it could be anybody's weekend. I just don't see any other team partnership regularly getting to the semis outside of these four at any sort of multiple event clip right now. Now, could that change? For sure. But like, these 8 guys are just dominating men's doubles right now.
Yeah, for sure. I would love, and I don't know if you have this, but like I sort of talked about how that big four is like a game of rock, paper, scissors where they all have their strengths and their weakness matchups. I would love to see head-to-head stats of all four of those if you could pull those at some point. Because
let's do that next week. I'll definitely do it for sure.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see, like, what the matchups sort of say, and some of them are newer, like J-Dub and CJ and whatnot.
I think the big four are just staying together for the rest of the year. If there's like a tournament where like Ben doesn't play and Gabe picks up somebody else, I could see it happening. That's the only way I see it happening. But I would say if you had a gun to my head right now, I would say the Big Four wins all 8 of the remaining events this year. What about you?
Yeah. That's my guess too. They do seem head and shoulders above. And I could see Deckel and Dylan, getting into a semi, beating, because they'd have to beat one of those teams in the quarters, another team in the semis, and then
Yes.
Another team in the final. I can see them beating one of these teams in a tournament. I can't see them beating 3 of these teams to win a title.
So real quick, there's been 4 events. The last 4 events, obviously in men's doubles, there's 3 medal, gold, silver, and bronze. So there's 12 medals total in those 4 events. These top 4 teams have taken 11 of the 12 medals. The only team outside of the top 4 that took a medal was bronze, and that was Eric Onsens and Dylan Frazier. Every other time, these, in some order, they're winning gold, silver, and bronze. So, yeah, I think it's trending towards that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, that's the last thing I had.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. Well, we did a bit of a marathon pod this time, so I'm not going to be able to get to the Q&A. I'll take a look at these for next time as well. I appreciate you guys dropping the questions in. Please ask them again next week. I apologize to all you guys. We just had too much content that we had to bring you guys this week. So till next week, we'll be covering the MLP San Clemente next week.
Yep, I'm going to be at that one. I'm excited.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, T-Dog. Well, thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate all the work that you put in. And as I keep saying in all these videos and whatnot, the way that I stay up to all the changes with Pro Pickleball is by following Erik Tice on X. So definitely worthwhile. And obviously you've got the blog posts on the Dink as well, where you go into more depth on some of this stuff. Yep. Always appreciate you coming on and statting me.
Yep, you got it.
All right. Thanks, dog. PicklePod.
PicklePod.
Woo!
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, darling, had fun, yeah.